Hey Bricks, it's Brickley here, and welcome to episode 29 of building Mordor in LEGO. And in the previous episode of building the Black Gate, I actually built this massive LEGO mountain on the left side of the Black Gate right here, with lots of detailing. And I'm actually going to go and show you a quick recap of that. So I actually built that entire section right over there. It's actually quite interesting and of course exciting. Over here, I built this entire section above my arm last week, and it's just insane to consider that I built so much Lego. So I'm really happy with that. And this mountain right here is actually the biggest build I've ever made within Lego. I've never done something like this before, so I'm really proud of it. And over here, actually, the big thing I actually love about this mountain is this sort of side piece, which is actually curving into the rockwork right there. That was really one of the hardest things to create within this huge mountain right here. But other than that, it was actually quite straightforward. You just had to build a lot with the slopes. And I mean, the end result just looks so good. So I'm really happy with that. But yeah, we also have a mountain on the right side right here, which isn't yet finished, unfortunately. Well, of course, we're going to go and build that in this episode of building Mordor in Lego. So what I really need to do is to make sure that this mountain right here is going to be right around the same height as the other mountain on the left side of the Black Gate, but I'm not sure if I'm going to actually reach that height right here because this area evidently is a lot smaller. Just take a look at it. This is actually, let me see here, 1/3 of that mountain right there in, of course, length of the mountain. So I really need to make sure that I use my parts efficiently. And of course, if you can imagine my mock being a bit bigger when I'm going to start building Minas Morgul and other places of Mordor in Lego, I'm actually going to make sure that this mountain is going to continue all the way into this direction right over here, but you won't be able to see that yet because yeah, this is what we got so far on my table, and it's not like I'm going to be able to fit another table right over here to the left of my mock. But yeah, I really need to make sure that everything right here is actually going to be quite high, and I really want to make sure that I can actually, well, of course, try to build it around this height right here. That would really be superb. The first thing, of course, I need to do while building, I'm actually going to show you a little bit of an inside how I build, is make sure that this area right here is actually going to be connected to this area. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to build a bigger sort of mountain, which is actually going to be connected to all the way around. So you can see that this area right here is sort of bulging out, and it's a sort of bulge, and I really need to make sure that everything right here actually is going to end up around this line, this black plate. And of course underneath is actually going to be this little tunnel right there, so I also need to keep that in mind. I need to be able to remove a panel on top. Not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but it's going to look exciting. I'm going to go and make sure that this area right over here is actually going to be filled with, of course, all of these 1x2 and 1x3 slopes to make it sort of look like that area right over there on the left side of the Black Gate. So that is something I need to mirror, and I actually am quite excited to use a lot of building techniques within this area. It's actually quite hard, as you can see, with all of these random pieces laying around. And over here, actually, something I really had to deal with in that part of the mock, which I can't really solve that easily, is this right here. These two pieces are actually having a little bit of a height difference right here. Now that is really hard to solve because usually when this happens within building rockwork, you just need to destroy the entire mountain. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to build over it and hope it will be solved on its own. But right over on that side, actually, if you look closely, I'm not really happy with it, but there's just no other way. As you can see right there, I have a couple of these pieces just sort of actually floating, and they are connected to the pieces underneath the slopes, but they're just sort of, well, on a different height level. And it's not like I can add a 1x1 plate underneath. That won't solve it because the gap between is actually too small for a plate. So it's really something weird, and I don't know how to solve it, and I'm actually not going to do that because if you look from afar, and it actually looks quite nice, a couple of holes within the rockwork, which is quite natural, and I think that's going to not be the case right here because this is inside the mountain. So I really hope that's just going to be like this and it's going to be covered up. So that's not really going to be a problem, actually, I hope. And yeah, of course, this area right over here is actually going to be also actually quite hard, because this area is actually going to be sort of the same as this side of the Black Gate of Mordor. So that also is quite hard to do. But yeah, I think it's quite nice to build something like this. Over here, actually, I got all of that rock work curving into some other rock work. So that is also quite nice to build. And talking about the 1x2 and 1x3 slopes, actually, I have a couple left right here to use. I got a couple of these 1x2 slopes right here, and the 1x3 slopes, also a couple of those. So I certainly hope that this is going to be enough to make the rock work look as good as possible. And I actually got plenty of the other slopes. I mean, here are the 1x2x3 2 height slopes. Actually, the 1x2x3 height slopes are right here. Got this massive bag, and just consider this. I actually bought like over 1,000 of these pieces right here. And I don't know how many I bought, but I just accept the fact that I bought a lot of these. And this is the only bag I have left. So yes, I poured all of those pieces within the rock work on the left side of the Black Gate, so that is just crazy to consider. But yeah, I got a lot of parts right here. I got a couple of pieces right here for fill-a-brick right over here as well. A lot of 1x2s, 1x1s. Got 1x1 dark bluish gray pieces as well. A couple, actually, not too many, but a couple of these 1x2 dark bluish gray pieces left as well. Those are really useful, but I don't have too many left. That's pretty unfortunate. And over here, actually, I got all of my Duplo pieces. Now, someone commented that I actually should use a different technique for my Duplo. So I'm just going to go and show you real quick right here. So what I did, actually, is place them next to each other right here. But what I should do is actually create a big gap in between, and let me add that right over here, and add them like this, so I have a little space in between, which will save me parts. Now, unfortunately, I was really hyped up about building, and I actually poured a lot of Duplo into this part of the rock work, so all of this right here actually has been sort of a bit of a wasted technique right here. I have a lot of Duplo, which I could use elsewhere within this big mountain, but yeah, I'm really happy with how the exterior of the mountain looks, so I'm not going to take it apart for all of those Duplo pieces. And I mean, I have enough right here. I got this stack. I got a couple of these stacks right here. I also have a lot of these 1x2 Duplo pieces. And I mean, it's not going to be like that this mountain is actually going to use a lot of Duplo. I mean, this is just going to be a smaller mountain. I hope I'm going to be able to reach the height of the left side of the Black Gate, but I'm not sure, because this area right here is actually just going to be a sort of mountain which is going to slope into a bigger mountain right over here within my Minas Morgul mock. So I'm definitely sort of, well, actually quite concerned about this mountain right here. It's going to be hard, but I definitely think I can do it, because I actually built that entire side of the rock work. So this smaller area right here shouldn't be too hard. And I mean, talking about Duplo, actually, I have a lot of Duplo left underneath my table, so that shouldn't be a problem too. And I mean, I'm not going to use a lot of Duplo within this big part of the mountain. It's just a small mountain, so not really worried about that. But yeah, right now, actually, we're going to go and start building the big mountain over here on the right side. I should call it a small mountain right here. So without further ado, actually, let's go ahead and start building the mountain on the right side of the Black Gate. So I just finished building the big mountain on the right side of the Black Gate of Mordor, and my first initial reaction was that this mountain is huge. I'm gonna go and show you real quick right here. You can actually see that the mountain on the right side is a little bigger than the mountain on the left side. So the height is just insane. Take a look at this. The bottom is also nicely done right here over there in the middle. I'm really happy with that. And you gotta imagine that this mountain right here actually started right around here in this episode. So this entire piece above my arm has been built within this episode of building Mordor in LEGO. Now you might say, well, Brickley, this looks so weird. The mountain is really big on the bottom and it sort of curves into this big point on top. Well, this is only actually the side of the big mountain, which is going to go around the entirety of Mordor with, of course, Minas Morgul, Cirith Ungol, all over there in the back, and of course Mount Doom and Barad-dûr right over there. So don't worry about that. This is just a small part, small fraction of the mountain, which is going to be right over here actually in some sort of way. So that's definitely something really cool in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this mountain is going to look like in the future. I definitely think that it looks so cool right now. This was actually quite hard because you had to use a lot of different designing techniques, and I also sort of experimented with using less Duplo bricks, so I can just put my hand in right here, and a couple of empty spaces are also left right here. I couldn't really use some Duplo pieces right over here. And of course the sort of pattern I used right here, because I really had to create a level of sturdiness and I really had to make sure that the space was filled up. So that is why, but this is the look of the mountain on the back right here. So you can see we started building around this height, and all of this right over here on top has been added to the mountain. Now that's just insane. So here's a look at the mountain from this side of the Black Gate, as you can see, and it has a lot of detailing. I'm really happy with the end result of the mountain, and it isn't done 100% because I also need to add a couple of details to, of course, the higher walls of the Black Gate. Right here, actually, and right here, that's a couple of final details, actually. I might even add a little bit of rock work right over here on top of the walkway as well, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And of course I have a lot of studs showing, and I'm actually going to cover those up with, I believe, let me see if I have a couple of pieces laying around. I believe, yeah, these cheese pieces right here. I'm going to go and use those on, of course, those studs right there. So it has a little bit of a more finished look to the mountain, and that's definitely something I really want to create. But right now, actually, I'm going to go and show you the mountain on the other side of Mordor. So we're going to go and move to this side, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. You can see, of course, all the orcs marching towards the Black Gate of Mordor. Still the same setup, actually. Well, I changed it a bit with a couple of orcs right here, so that also is quite nice to see. A couple fell over because I had to move these big parts of the landscaping underneath the table while building. But right here you can see the rock work, and then of course this bigger, higher wall right here integrated into the big mountain. And I really like this sort of part right here. It's actually pretty weird, in my opinion, if you look at it, but I think it looks quite nice. You can actually see this part of the rock work is sort of sticking out, so it actually is really random rock work, and that is actually something I wanted to go for. So this part right here is actually also a sort of different depth in comparison to this side of the rock work, which is, in my opinion, really nice, actually. I think it looks awesome. And of course the top of the rock work is also epic. You can see a lot of detailing on there. So we're going to go and take a look at this part right here first of all. So we got this panel right here, and I can actually entirely remove it. Now it's made up of a couple of wedge pieces, as you can see, the wedge plates, because I ran out of regular dark bluish gray plates. And then I can of course just put my minifigures inside of here. We got a red brick showing, but that's not really a problem at all, actually. But yeah, this is just looking really cool. We got a couple of slopes over here on top, and of course a couple of these studs showing, which I really need to cover up with those dark bluish gray cheese pieces. And this right here was actually really hard to create because you had to have a sort of corner right here. And these corners are actually something that takes a lot of time to create in comparison to building rock work up to around this height right here, because that is just about creating height, and this is about creating a shape within the rock work which you want to achieve. And that shape was actually, in this case, the corner right here. So it was quite hard, but I think this side really looks a lot better than the back right here. You can see a lot of slopes just sort of actually sloping into this corner right here. This is a sort of nice sloping effect right here, in my opinion, as well, with all of those 1x2 and 1x3 slopes right here. And then, of course, it slopes into the steeper part of the mountain. Now, right here, actually, this is going to be the sort of, well, actually the top part of the entire mountain right over here, going into the Minas Morgul Mach. So you can see that's quite high if you take a look at the landscaping of Mordor right here. I think that's definitely something cool. And of course, we got the tower right here. So that's also, in my opinion, actually a really cool feature of this Mach, that you can see a lot of height within it, because you get the level right here with the minifigures, with of course my Rohan and Gondor army actually. And then, of course, we get the huge level of the mountains. So we got a couple of different levels within this Mach right here. Of course, you can see all of the minifigures from up here, which just looks fantastic in my opinion. So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, the mountain was actually quite hard to create. It took me a little longer than building that part over there on the left side, because I had to create some corners right there. But yeah, what's most important about the fact that I built this mountain on the right side of the Black Gate is that we can finally focus on the smaller details of my Black Gate of Mordor Mach, because I still need to finish this part right here with the little rockwork area where Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are going to go and take a look at the Black Gate of Mordor. I also need to add a couple of details all throughout this Mach to really make sure that the finished look is going to be as good as possible. And of course, I'm going to be happy with this for my entire life. So that's definitely one of my main goals. But yeah, right here, I achieved the biggest goals of building Mordor in LEGO, which is building the rockwork. You can see two immense mountains on either side right here, with the big mountain on the left and the smaller mountain on the right. But the final look right here is actually finished right here. As you can see, actually, you can see the big Black Gate of Mordor in the middle. We got the towers, and then, of course, the rock work, which really makes this look like a sort of canyon. And that is what I really wanted to achieve with this Mach. Now, I really want to tell you that I never expected that this Mach would be this huge right here. I actually planned it to be this height, but I never thought it would be possible to do. And the mountains actually took up a lot of my budget for building Mordor in LEGO. It cost me a lot of money, but taking a look at all of the rock work right now, I can say that building rock work within your Machs is definitely worth it. So if you're building a LEGO Mach in the future, I think you really should consider building rock work right here. It definitely adds a lot of value to your Mach. And I'm really happy with the fact that I built this mountain on the right side and the mountain on the left side. So you can really see that the Black Gate is almost finished, actually. And yeah, I actually finally announce that the Black Gate is almost finished. So I hope that you enjoyed watching me build the rock work on the right side of the Black Gate. I definitely had a fun time building this gigantic mountain. And although it was a bit of a challenge, I think it's really fun to build rock work. So I really recommend that you go ahead and check out my other videos of building Mordor in LEGO, because I also built this massive mountain right here, and that actually took a couple of episodes. So if you haven't yet, of course, go ahead and save the playlist. The link is actually in the description down below. And if you did enjoy watching this video, of course, let me know by leaving a thumbs up to support it. Go subscribe to Brickley if you are new to my channel. Ring that notification bell to stay updated when I post any videos. Of course, go ahead and share this video with all of your friends and family to make Mordor a really epic series on YouTube. I really want to thank every single one of you for commenting underneath building Mordor in LEGO, and I'll see you all in the next episode.